Hi Taurus, welcome to the Modern Spiritualist. My name is Rahim. Today we're going to look at February for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This is a general reading. Take what resonates, leave what does not. I did a Celtic cross spread with Albano weight and pulled a couple oracles from Threads of Fate. And let's just get into this. So let's start with the oracles. This is kind of what I'm using as like themes to thread this whole spread together. I have pulled the Outlaw, which is kind of like a go your own way energy. Um, hmm. It's interesting because it's paired with withdraw, and so there's something about um, going inward this month. Um, but it's specifically about separating from something. Like separating from a group of people, maybe, or a job, or something in your life externally that just isn't serving you. And it may be kind of, just because this is the Outlaw, I mean, it may be kind of deep in the sense that like something that you're deeply rooted in is no longer serving you. And so for you to separate from this and to really go your own way is to really is to dig up a root system. So it may be kind of disruptive, maybe not for you because I feel like you're done, but like disruptive to whatever it is that you're leaving behind. And so the message here is just stand firm, because you know what you're doing and you know what you need to do for you. And so that's all this is saying, paired with the withdraw card. And then you're going to need to take some time for yourself to regroup, because, I mean, this may be taxing. If you're pulling away from something that has been a part of you for so long, it could even just be a set of ideas, but I think for many of you, this is a group of people or some sort of thing that you're involved in. And so, the need to withdraw is important because you need to regroup, figure out who you're going to be now without that part of you, without that part of your life, without those people or that place or those ideas or whatever, so that you can come back into contact with who you are, your authenticity, what you need, what you believe in, etc. Okay? This is about coming back to yourself. I don't feel isolation so much as I feel a return to your innermost wants, needs, and identity, with yourself. Who are you really, separate from this group? And it feels very empowering. This is a very empowering theme for you. It's really cool. And you're a solid kind of sign, Taurus. You don't make choices impulsively. So, I mean, this may just be something, this may be a long time coming, like you've already known. I don't feel like this is a surprise to you. This is just you finally doing it. Making the decision, separating, and then regrouping. But there's a firmness to it. Like you're really solid in your decision. You've already resolved to do this. And so I think for many of you, it may just come as a relief. Even if it's a little disruptive initially, I think it's going to be a major relief for you. Okay, let's go into the Celtic cross spread and see what else we have. So your starting place this month is the Five of Swords. You have two fives here, by the way. Always significant, I think. So I'm really focused in this card on the figures that are walking away. I mean, I think Five of Swords, there's a tendency to focus on the figure that still wants to fight, right? Like the fighting aspect. But what about the surrender? What about the person that just chooses to walk away from the fight, which is not a failure, it's a victory in and of itself, because it's choosing not to waste your energy fighting something that doesn't even serve you. You don't even need it. And so I think this is really reflective of this outlaw energy, where you are kind of this figure that's walking away. You're throwing in the towel. You're done. You're done with it, and you're ready to stop fighting. So this is like the highest vibration of Five of Swords I could possibly come up with. I think it's you choosing to walk away, and I think that's really beautiful. And the Two of Cups, crossing it, coming back to yourself. This is the withdrawal card, basically. Refocusing your energy on self-love, self-acceptance, and asking your heart, your innermost self, what it needs moving forward and how it wants to express itself, what your soul wants to do from here in this life. This is bringing the attention back to you and ceasing to serve those that take from you, beautiful. I mean, Taurus, you're a provider, but watch what you're providing for, Okay, deep past affecting the present. Five of Wands, reversed. This is like the inner fight. This is you fighting yourself. So in the past, maybe over this thing that you're walking away from, there's been this major fight between the you that wants to please or be a part of this root system that you've just uprooted, and the part of you that knows that it's not serving you and that's not what your soul wants to do, that it's not your place, it's not your group, it's not your belief system, it's not what you want to do, right? And so this is the energy that you're walking away from. Instead of fighting yourself, you're embracing yourself. You're embracing your full authenticity and your true needs. Beautiful work. Foundation. We have the Ace of Pentacles, a new start. New start. What do you want to do now? Because it's a pinnacle. There's a practicality here, which makes me think that some of you are definitely leaving a job behind. Yeah. And so within that, not all of you, obviously, but within that, there's potential here to create something new that will manifest physically, materially in your life. Like, this has the potential for accruing resources over time. And so whatever you choose to do from here is like you're planting a seed that has the potential to grow. And if it's not money related, it could just be about your self-worth or your sense of self, particularly your expression of self in the world, so what others see of you. Or how you interact. So that's another possibility. If this is more internal than external, if you're letting go of belief systems that don't serve you, etc. Crowning you this month, the Devil. I like this for you as well. I feel like a lot of people read this card differently from me for the most part. I mean, it's Capricorn energy and I'm a Capricorn, so I have a tendency to favor this energy more than others. So the way that I'm receiving this energy, especially because it's in your crowning position, is a Devil's Advocate. This is you challenging outlaw energy. This is you challenging all these old restricting, limiting beliefs, people, modes of being, etc., that are just restricting your growth. Or keeping you small, or tying you down, or chaining you. This is you kind of poking holes in that system and kind of going, oh, nope, that doesn't work for me, that's gone. That doesn't work for me, that's gone. It's just you're challenging all of these things that you're done with, that you've outgrown, essentially. You're challenging them all, and you're just picking them away one by one out of your life. Really beautiful work. Also can be disruptive. So, if you're dealing with other people, I don't want to say watch your words, because if they're truthful, you need to say them. And so if you're in a place with other people, right, where you need to air what you need to air, what you don't agree with, what you want to challenge, because you're in this state of expansion where you just realize that these restricting beliefs are not for you, you may need to say something. You may need to have a conversation. And I do see Eight of Wands in your external environment, which means communication. And so this could be a disruptive conversation. So for those of you that are afraid of conflict, I think the challenge here is being as tactful as possible. Those of you that aren't afraid of conflict, I think the Devil's Advocate energy, you can really lean into. Like, you can just shake shit up if you want, right? But that's me talking. So do what you need to do. Do what you need to do so that you feel safe, but so that you get old energy out. Like, If you can't move on until you say something to someone and it's a difficult conversation, don't shy away. Don't shy away, because if it's going to help you get what you need to get off your chest and move on, you should do it. And if a conversation is not required, this is an inner conversation about what beliefs about myself and my life am I carrying into my future, and what beliefs am I not? What do I need to let go of? And you can also change those beliefs. Like if you have this limiting belief of nothing ever works out for me, write that down. Write nothing ever works out for me, cross it out, and write right next to it, everything works out for me. It's infinite. The universe is whatever you want it to be, and that's why we experience confirmation bias, because whatever we're putting out into the universe in terms of what we believe is true, of course that's going to be reflected back to us. We're the co-creators of our reality. So if you don't like something, if you don't like a belief that you have, if it makes you feel small, if it makes you feel afraid, or it makes you feel powerless, just change the belief and then give the universe time to recalibrate and reflect that new belief back to you. That's how you change your life. You change your life by changing yourself. You change your life by changing your belief system. And this is this energy. Uproot all beliefs that don't serve you. Okay? New circumstance. 9 of Wands. So this is going to be taxing for you a little bit. Not like it's going to be shocking. You know where your mind's at. But it's going to be taxing, especially if you're dealing with other people. Because if you need to put your foot down, if you need to set new boundaries, if you need to air your grievances with someone, it's going to take it out of you, especially if you avoid conflict, which some of you might be conflict avoidant. It's gonna tax you the most. It's also going to be an opportunity to step into spiritual warriorship, which will help you grow and will help you move past certain blocks. Sometimes the block is the fear, and we face the fear anyway, and then the fear disappears because we find out that it wasn't as bad as we anticipated, right? That's spiritual warriorship. So there's an opportunity to step into spiritual warriorship here. The rest of you, that it's not the conversation itself that will be taxing. For you, I think if you're doing a lot of inner work, it will be energy intensive, because clearing out old belief systems and rewriting them is a lot. It's a lot on your brain and your body and your energy field, because you are completely upgrading your system. I mean, think about how long it takes a computer to download the newest updates or whatever. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that, where you have to regroup and reprocess, and it just takes time and energy. You know how laptops won't even do the update if they're not plugged into a power source? It's kind of the same thing here. Make sure that you're nurturing yourself, make sure you're getting enough sleep, make sure that you're eating enough, if you're doing integration work especially, which I think all of you will be in some capacity, some of you harder than others, depending on if this work is mostly inner or if it's outer, like you're stepping away from a group. So you're gonna be tired, so you need to be well-resourced, is what I'm getting. So there's gonna have to be a bit of an acceptance of being tired, but not allowing that acceptance to completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Not short circuit, but just completely fry your system. And in order to do that, you need to make sure that your bases are covered, especially because you're Taurus, your Earth sign, you're Venusian, and so sleep, eating, body-based self-care is essential for your health, and that's in general, regardless of what's going on right now. Not having basic bodily needs met, impacts Taurus more than other signs. You really need to have enough sleep. You really need to eat enough good food. You really need to give yourself opportunities to indulge in the senses, whether that's taking a relaxing bath, losing yourself in music, just like sensory based things that make you feel good and supported and relaxed are going to be what you need to lean on this month, because that's what's going to help you integrate. That's what's going to keep you from being overly tired, because yes, you're going to be tired. No, we don't want to fry your system with exhaustion, and you don't want to give yourself the leeway to do that just because you know you'll be tired, right? So take care of yourself this month every time you get a chance, whether it's you have a whole day because you have a weekend to yourself, or you have 5 minutes. Use it. Sleep, eat, please. Okay, your ego this month. The Four of Wands and the Moon. Moon is a Pisces energy. Let's start with the Four of Wands, though. You want stability, obviously. You want a firm foundation for yourself. Some of you already have it. Some of you don't. And regardless, that's what you're looking to expand. And so maybe, this, whatever group you're stepping away from is chaotic. Maybe it's chaotic energy. It doesn't support your need for stability. And so when you withdraw and recalibrate and think about what you want, I think you're going to come to a place where you're like, well, I want stability. I want to, you want to have a consistent living space. You want emotional stability. You want financial stability. You want people in your life that make you feel calm and not stressed, all of these things. So that's kind of where your energy is at, like seeking that, looking to expand on that. And then I also want to remind you to, make a gratitude list or something. Make a list of all the ways that you already have stability, big or small. Because one of the best ways to attract what you desire is to kind of note the ways that you already have it, because gratitude is a magnet. So the second you're in your gratitude, you start to enter flow space again. And in flow space, things start coming to you. So be thankful for what you have. Be open to desiring more as well, because you should feel like you deserve it. I mean, you deserve to have every happiness that you want. You absolutely deserve to feel safe. And so I just get, there's just a little bit of a jump in my solar plexus and throat when I say that. And so I feel like some of you may just need to do some work around what you feel like you deserve, because if you feel like you don't deserve stability or safety or happiness, that's in the way of you getting it. For those of you that are well supported, just lean into that as a resource this month, because you're calibrating things and integrating and letting go of things and upgrading your system. Leaning on the foundation that you have, the stability that you have, is going to keep you in a safe container of transformation, where even though you're changing, it's like you can anchor yourself. So find the things that anchor you this month. The Moon, potential for a dark night of the soul moment. That's not all of you, but I do have to mention that because I feel it. And so especially with the devil here, the devil can bring that too. And so, the reminder, we go into the shadows so that we can bring light to it. The shadows are hidden to us. That's why they're called the shadows. We don't see things clearly in the shadow. But things are in the shadow. Aspects of us are in the shadow. Gifts that we need. Parts of us that will support our life path. If they weren't in shadow, right? So, and these are parts of us that we've rejected, parts of us that we're afraid of, emotions that we feel like we can't handle, things like that. Parts of us that other people said, hey, that part of you is no good, put it away, and you did for your own safety, right? And so we're back onto this feeling of safety thing, where if it feels unsafe to explore parts of you, you'll need to figure out why, because you really can't even go into the shadow and rescue those parts of yourself or investigate those parts of yourself if you don't feel safe to be yourself in your life. And so for some of you, it's about addressing that in itself. Why do I feel unsafe to be myself? Why do I feel unworthy to be myself? Why do I feel like I can't be authentic in my life and survive? That's a big line of thinking that you may need to explore. For those of you that are past that, but you're still dealing with aspects of yourself in shadow, you have a little bit more of a container to explore and investigate parts of yourself that you've rejected. Because if you're in a headspace where you want them back and you feel safe enough to get them back, then you can explore that. But the dark night of the soul, quote unquote, piece is really about preparedness, because sometimes life brings really deep emotions to the surface for us to deal with, whether we think we're ready or not. And the difference between dipping into the shadow and coming back out without a dark night of the soul and dipping into the shadow and coming back out with is how willing you are to do it. And so if you reject your emotions, they get worse. If you fear the emotions, then you just get more and more backed into a corner. You get more and more afraid of the emotions that are being presented to you. But if you step into your spiritual warriorship and you say to yourself, okay, these emotions are not going to kill me, and then you go into them and you ask them what they need instead of rejecting them, the emotions don't get as intense or as extreme or as dark, because you're standing up and being an adult. You're asking your shame, what are you ashamed of? What do you need from me? Instead of shame comes up and you go, no, I'm ashamed of my shame. And now we're in shame squared, right? So avoid exponentiating your hard emotions. Instead, just notice them when they come up and ask them what they need. And that will keep you out of the depths enough that you're dipping into the deep end of the pool enough to see what needs to be brought to light and to, transmute it, to bring it into light. And that's the sweet spot, because you're not overwhelmed, but you're still going into the shadows and transforming them. That's effective. Whereas, when you start to feel the deep end of the pool and they just drag you into the depths, now you're just overwhelmed and afraid, and that doesn't actually create change. Sometimes it can just scare you even more, and you retreat even further into yourself, and now we've got a bigger problem, right? So try not to push your emotions away. That's all. Just try not to push them away. Just ask them what they need, and remember, each emotion that comes to you in that moment isn't who you are. Like, you are a whole person. You're a full whole being. You're a body. You're a mind. You're a spirit. And in that moment, you may be experiencing fear. You may be experiencing shame. You may be experiencing pain in some way. But to be able to separate yourself enough to say, I am not my shame. I'm experiencing shame, but I am not my shame. Sometimes gives us the perspective that we need to ask the shame why it's there and what it needs, instead of falling into the pit of shame, right? So just be aware of that. Environmental energy this month. 8 of Wands. Okay, so some of you, this is in the upright, some of you that are having a conversation with this group that you've split off from. And particularly I'm getting hit on family or religious groups or a job for some reason. Those are just the 3 things that I'm feeling the most. With this devil energy, right? If you need to speak on the things that you need to speak on, whatever this group did to you, however they hurt you, however they overstepped your boundaries, or however they're misguided, and you feel like you just need to speak about how their misguidance has affected your belief system, and in turn the rest of your life, your feelings about yourself, your life path, the things you've experienced in your life because of those ingrained beliefs. It's a big conversation, but it's going to work out in your favor. I think however you swing this, it's going to be more positive than negative. I don't think it's going to have the blowout that you fear or that you anticipate. It really seems like a moment of truth. And if these people care about you, they're going to, if they truly care about you, they're going to validate you. And if they are in a frame of mind where they can actually listen to what you're saying, they might change too. Because this is showing me evolution. And because this is in your environment, it might be somebody else's evolution. And you might be the instigator for it. Again, right, the devil, just stirring the pot. And through that disharmony, creating ascension, basically. And so there's a high potential here for whatever conversation you have to actually go very, very smoothly, more smoothly than you expect. And maybe it means that, because the conversation goes well, you don't actually have to leave these people's lives. You just have to change your relationship with them. Like, you're not part of the group anymore, but it doesn't mean that you don't have a relationship with them. If this is about you and your own belief systems, or just your own, transformation with all this, if the major theme for you is the moon, those heavy emotions because you're eradicating old belief systems, which is going to bring up shit, if this is you, there's people around you that can support you. 8 of Wands is conversation, it's communication, it's about getting support on this level. And so people in your life that you trust, that give good advice, that can support you, that can hold space for you, that maybe know what you're going through on a certain level because they've been there on a certain level and they've done their own work. They can give you support, love, advice, resources, tools, all kinds of things that will make this month easier for you. Okay, so lean on that support system. Paired with the judgment is great because I just feel like there is somebody that's walked this road before. I mean, not the way that you have because you're you and they're them, but there is someone or, some group of people outside of this group. This is somebody else, right? That has an entirely different perspective on whatever thematically this is. They have an entirely different perspective, and that perspective is going to help you rewrite your belief system so that you create a space that is vibrant and lighter and more radiant and easier and more flow. It just feels like there's a path out there for you that is just gonna be so much easier. And this month you can begin to set off on that path, which is an enormous relief. And yes, these emotions are going to come in. Yes, there's adjustments that need to be made. You're going to be tired because you're upgrading your system, all these things. But that's, part of it. That's just what you have to do to get to the better place sometimes, because it's all release, ultimately. And release is a death theme, and it's not always comfortable. But that's the beautiful thing about, this 5 of Swords, right? These people in the background that have surrendered, that's the beauty of surrender. Surrendering to your process, surrendering to yourself is the thing that makes this easy and not hard, right? And so if you have problems with surrender, you're going to have a harder time. But if you have problems with surrender, this is a great lesson in surrender. If it's a little bit easier for you to let go and be in the moment, I actually think you're going to love all of this a lot because it's so rich and abundant with new information. If you're really well resourced and you have a good foundation, that's going to bring you even more joy because it's going to bring you this gratitude of like, oh, I'm going through this thing, but look at everything around me that's supporting me, right? And even that in and of itself is part of your belief system. We all have beliefs. Beliefs aren't rooted in objective truth, they're rooted in subjective truth. The objective truth of that is that life confirms your subjective truth, right? So there's belief in I have support. I have support around me. I know where to go. for support, right? There's a belief in that, and it's a belief that exponentiates support. So take stock of what you have. Get into that state of gratitude, especially because you're going to be vulnerable. And by vulnerable, I mean you're energetically going to be kind of soup right now. And in that state, you can create a lot of change because things are less solid. And so things can come at you really fast. And that, which is also Eight of Wands, things can come at you really fast. I get the sense that it's just ideas, new ways of thinking, new beliefs. Because, I mean, with this potential to create this new belief system for yourself and rewrite your story, comes this potential for almost instant transformation. For suddenly my life is different because of the way that you're looking at it. And that's the Judgment card. The Judgment card is ascension, going from a darker place to a higher place. You have a high potential to level up. And this being in your external environment, there is somebody that has done this before. Somebody that has done this that can maybe just give you the information or the support that you need to be able to go on this journey yourself. This might even be a spiritual awakening month, I think, for some of you. Many of you have already had that, which is why you're here watching me. But still, I feel it, so I have to say it. High potential for a spiritual awakening, and if you've already gone down that road, just a high potential for ascension, for leveling up in that awakening. Because it never ends, right? We just become more and more and more conscious, and that's the path, regardless of whether we're aware of that right now or not, right? Okay, hopes and fears. Four of Pentacles reversed. Whatever change you make this month, if you do this work, is going to allow you to let your guard down because you feel safe to do so. And that doesn't mean that you're not protected or that you're not protecting yourself in some capacity. It just means that in whatever ways that you're really shielding yourself from other people, which can affect your closeness with people, your intimacy, your feelings of being supported or being seen and heard, that can affect this. If you're really, really, really guarded, then you're not letting anyone in, and that can be very lonely. And so there is a potential here for you to let your guard down in that way so that you can let people that you trust into your world. And then you'll feel more supported, more seen, more validated, right? What was the other thing? It came and then it went. It lost me, but that's okay. It'll come back if it's important. So high potential here for you to let your guard down a little bit. Oh, I remember. This also helps with manifestation in terms of bringing the things that you want into the physical material world. Because sometimes we want things so badly we cling to them, right? That's why this guy's got his hands like wrapped tightly around this pentacle, right? We want things so badly that we cling to the wanting. We just want it so bad, we just cling to the wanting. And then we actually don't release it, and so then we don't get it because we've never given it to the universe to calibrate for us. We've just clung onto it so hard. And so there may be a need, and I told this to Aries too, there may be a need to release an attachment to some sort of desire or want, which is part of surrender as well. Not because you shouldn't have it, but because releasing it is the only way you're going to get it. Does that make sense? And so you don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to do this alone. And usually if you are trying to do everything yourself and do it alone, it's not going to work because you need help, you need people, you need the universe, you need all these different things. Nobody does anything in a vacuum, right? Everything is collaborative. And that's just on the human level, everything's collaborative. But also just on the universal level, everything is collaborative. You can't do anything without the universe. You just can't. We wouldn't even be here, right? And so let the universe help you. You're here because the universe wants you to be here or you wouldn't be here. And the universe doesn't want you to be here just so you can suffer. The universe wants you to be here so that you can experience the things that you want to experience in your life. And it can't give that to you if you don't let it go. And letting go is giving it to the universe so that it can bring it to you. So yeah, that's the other thing about this is if you open yourself up in a new way, then you are opening yourself up to receiving, because you're not shielding yourself from receiving. The thing about shielding us, which feels very protective, and sometimes we need that, but usually we shield ourselves through trauma, through deep childhood trauma, and then we never release the shield because it never feels safe to do so, right? Even though that's coming out of an old trauma, an old story, and your life isn't what it was when you were a child. You're an adult. You have the power to protect yourself. You don't need to do this, but oh, I lost my thought. It's just so deep. It's just so deep, and I keep getting this flood of information and a lot of intense emotion as well. Oh yeah, so then when we continue to shield ourselves like this as adults, not only does it, protect us, there's other ways to protect, but not only does it protect us from all of the negative energy that we don't want in our field, but it also protects us from all of the positive. So we're not letting anything in. And then we're also, as we're not letting anything in, we're stewing in our own bullshit. And a lot of that bullshit is bullshit. A lot of it is deep, old, hard emotions that we don't want to deal with. And then we're just stewing in it because nothing can get out or in. And so the potential here this month is to stop doing that, to open yourself up, to release things, which is part of surrender, right? The lesson in surrender is that you don't need to cling on to every single thing you can release. You can let it go. And so letting go of what doesn't serve you. You're already initiating that because you're walking away from something, right? So you're already in it. I think it'll be easy to continue because you know what it feels like now. And, through that release, through that surrender, you're opening yourself up so you're not stewing in your own bullshit anymore. You've let a lot of it go. And so then you feel lighter. And then you're more open to things coming in. And so all that stuff that you want, that you've been trying to get, it starts to come in because you're an open field, and so it can, right? And, release is twofold. You can release things that you don't want into the earth so it can be transformed and renewed and recycled, because energy is just energy. That's all. It's like, it just goes somewhere else. And you can release up into the universe, right, your desire. I want this. Right, and then it will come. So release is twofold, and that's what makes it so powerful, right? Okay. And there's people in your life that support you. Be vulnerable, with those people. I'm not saying it's safe to be vulnerable with everyone on the planet, but the people that you trust. Yeah. Okay, an outcome. Queen of Swords reversed. Interesting. First of all, the work's not done. This feels like a longer cycle. Sometimes we wrap it up at the end of the month-ish, but the work's not done. This is going to continue into March. And this is a Mercury retrograde cycle for most of February, so keep that in mind. We're all kind of dealing with this kind of thing. Revisiting the past, basically. But we revisit the past so that we can resolve it, reconcile it, right? And so you can do that this month. This path is not over. And why is that? I just feel a sword going into my throat and down through my core, through my chakras, heart chakra, solar plexus, sacral, down through my root, kinda. So like throat to root, it feels like a sword is just stabbing me. You need to pull the sword out. There's a block, and it's literally throat to root. That's a big block. It's through most of the major chakras. But it's all part of the same block, even though it's affecting, a lot of systems at once. It's like all you have to do is pull it out of your throat, specifically your throat. Pull it out of your throat, and then you're unblocked and you're back in the flow. And so I'm just feeling into because it doesn't actually feel that hard. It feels like it's really impacted your life negatively. It also feels like it's not going to be that hard to pull out at this point. And so I'm just asking if the conversation that you have potentially with this group you're separating from, I mean, that will help get things off your chest, but okay, what's the throat? What is it? Okay, the visualization is kind of going into pulling the sword out of your throat and then wielding it, and then this goes upright. So the sword is an aspect of self-harm. Not to say that it got there that way. I mean, usually we get hurt as children, and then we perpetuate that hurt on ourselves because we're in the learning stages. So however we're treated, we continue to treat ourselves that way. And so, oh man. So this sword that has been in all of these chakra systems just stabbing down, it is a sword of self-harm. I'm just trying to feel deeper into that, but I think I can't because it's unique to each person. So it may be shame, it may be self-doubt, it may be low self-esteem, it may be just a lot of negative self-talk. That's getting a hit. So it's, for all of you, it's negative self-talk of some capacity. I think that self-talk is probably unique to you, but you're beating yourselves up with your words. You have a pattern. There's a pattern here of beating yourselves up with your words, telling yourself bad things about yourself. And I think the change is more like a redirection, which is why you still have the sword. It comes out of you and then you're wielding it. Let me feel the wielding. So I'm a Sufi, right? I'm a practicing Sufi. And we have these like guidelines of chivalry, and one of the guidelines is meet your shortcomings with a sword of self-respect, and that's coming in for me strong. And so it's like pulling the sword out of your self that you're using to stab yourself, pulling it out, pulling the negative self-talk out, right? Not addressing yourself in that way, because it's like you're speaking, it's like in your throat, it starts in your throat, so you're like speaking down, you're like speaking all of these negative things into the core of you, basically. And it's keeping yourself small. It's kind of keeping you in the restrained devil self-limitation energy, because you're just being mean to yourself. And so then the wielding is redirecting that energy for positivity. And so pull the sword out of your body, out of your mouth. And then when it's in your hand, what do you want to do with it instead? I think a lot of you, there's power in your words. There's a lot of power in your words. And so the second you free up that energy, it's like you'll be able to write or speak or perform or do whatever it is that you do with words as an expression of yourself. That's one thing. And then the other thing feels very exploratory. Like it feels like, it's like because you've opened yourself up with this Four of Pentacles, right? You've opened yourself up to the world, so suddenly, I remember having a moment where I had done, I'd gotten a healing, I got a soul retrieval, and I had done a lot of calibration around it to accommodate the new soul part, to be hospitable for this part of me that left, because I wasn't being hospitable at a certain point. So when he came back, the adjustments that I made, when I made them, suddenly the world had more color. Like color was more vibrant. I was just like seeing more light around me. I was just less in the shadows in terms of my perception of reality. And that still stands. I just see color more vividly than I used to because of that healing work. And I'm kind of feeling that from you. Similarly, like when you open yourself up to the world this month, the world's gonna look different to you. And so when you pull the sword out of your mouth and you instead use it as a tool for positivity, for redirecting energy, there's this sense of exploration, like you're exploring this brand new world that you've created through your change in perception. And so And so there's an incredible learning here. There's an incredible ability to digest new information and to make new connections, new pattern connections, and just explore your universe in a way that feels more carefree, more playful, more fun. Holy shit, what a huge reading. Wow, okay. That's all I have for you. I think that's plenty. Please schedule something with me if you need support or you need clarification on your current process, because I can work with you specifically and figure out, what this is all about. So please do that. My website is in the box below. Please leave a comment. Let me know what this situation is for you. And hit like if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see the next Taurus video, and I will see you guys in March. I love you. You can do it, okay? You can do this, because the end of this line is freedom, right? And that's what we all want, to feel safe and free, okay? So have a good month.